I'm sitting at the dining table of my grandparents' house and I'm told that my mum killed herself a few hours ago.
2 hours earlier.
7 a.m, the alarm goes off. The date is September 22nd, 2009. I turned 13 1 month ago. I get dressed for school and walk out of my room just like any other day. Dad says, "You're not going to school today, Lennox." We drive to my grandparents' house. There's a deadly silence in the car. I know something's wrong. I know what it is, and I can feel it, but I wait for confirmation. Mum killed herself a few hours ago. It takes me a few seconds to register what I've just been told. And then all of a sudden it hits me as if I've stepped beneath a waterfall flowing from the skies. The impact intensified by the full force of gravity. My mum's gone. I start screaming and bawling my eyes out. I've never felt so sorry for myself. I felt like the unluckiest person ever, a victim. But I couldn't go on living like that forever, so I created a grief solution that provides instant relief and has helped me turn around my life for the better. This solution doesn't only apply to grief, it's something that applies to literally everything. Get cut off in traffic? Use this solution. Lose your job and have no money? Use this solution. Get diagnosed with ADHD, anxiety, and depression? Use this solution. Why am I sharing this solution with you? Firstly, for a pretty selfish reason, I want to celebrate my mum and her memory. But secondly, I want to normalize loss and grief. Everyone experiences it, but no one talks about it. That's stupid. When no one talks about loss and grief, we fall victim to this: grief tunnel vision. Grief tunnel vision, or GTV, is a narrow perspective that views grief and loss exclusively as a negative experience, ignoring its potential for personal growth and healing. There are two main reasons why GTV is bad. First one relates to isolation and disconnection. GTV makes you feel isolated. You tell yourself that other people can't understand your experience, so you withdraw from social activities and important relationships, making you feel more isolated and disconnected than ever. This is how I felt going back to school a month after my mum died. I didn't want all of the attention on me, and I hated the idea of everyone thinking, "Lennox is back, his mum just died, we need to be careful, we need to tread carefully." And paradoxically, all of this attention, whether real or constructed, made me feel more isolated than ever. Second reason why GTV, grief tunnel vision, is bad is because of shame. Shame is a combination of feeling regret, guilt, and embarrassment about something you've done or circumstances that you were in. If you've felt shame, you know it's a deeply personal and painful thing. I felt ashamed and embarrassed about my mum's death, as though I was the dude whose mum died, and that made me weird. It was my thing. One example of this shame occurred during a Year 7 recess at school. It was in 2010. I'd recently befriended a new student named Ben, and Ben and I were with my best mate, Jordan. Ben wanted to fill up his drink bottle, so the three of us started walking over to the nearby drink fountain, and Ben didn't know about my thing. It felt like a weight I needed to get off my shoulders, but I was too ashamed to do that personally. So I hastily pulled Jordan aside while Ben was filling up his drink bottle and quickly whispered, "Can you tell Ben about my mum?" And I walked away. I didn't even wait for a response. I didn't even look Jordan in the eyes when I asked. I felt ashamed of my thing. That's what GTV does. But here's a technique I use to overcome it. Perspective pivoting. Perspective pivoting, or PP, is the conscious act of adjusting your viewpoint to better cope with challenging situations. Perspective pivoting also has two main benefits. First one is resilience. Practicing PP develops your resilience and better equips you to handle future challenges. Each future challenge is a boss level in the game of life. As you level up, the challenges from lower boss levels seem easier because you've adapted to the difficulty of the higher boss levels. My mum's death leveled me up very quickly. It made me resilient to most other boss levels because their difficulty paled in comparison. A good example of this is when I wasn't selected to become a prefect in my final year of high school. I was disappointed, sure, but in the game of life, not becoming prefect was boss level 5 out of 100, and mum dying was boss level, 85 out of 100. The difficulty of overcoming the former was nothing compared to overcoming the latter. Second main benefit of perspective pivoting, and a personal favorite of mine, is the guiding star principle. Perspective pivoting helps you harness the power of this principle. When a loved one dies, they become a star in the sky. You're the only one who can see it, but it's up there every day. Whenever you're feeling lost, your guiding star will show you the way. Raquel, my mum, is my guiding star. She's helped me make the most important decisions of my life. Whenever I'm at a crossroads, I look up to the sky and wonder, what would Raquel want me to do? The answer is always obvious. Asking myself this very question led me to quit the law and share my ideas with the world. I knew Raquel would not want me to be depressed and miserable. Asking myself the question also helped me to see the light. There's a lot of darkness in the world today, but I choose to focus on the light. The light her star emits, because that's what Raquel would want me to do. The guiding star principle is the most powerful tool in my toolbox. You can only have it if you've experienced immense loss and grief. But this is why it's so powerful. With immense loss and grief comes immense power. You're harnessing the power of a star. If you want to turn grief into growth, you need to avoid grief tunnel vision and embrace perspective pivoting. Here's how. Triangle therapy. How to overcome grief in 3 simple steps. Triangle therapy is the #1 grief solution you have never heard of. It's how you can find instant relief after a loss. It's how I do every single day. Triangle therapy, or TT, is a 3-step process that recognizes every situation has negative, neutral, and positive aspects. Each aspect represents each apex of a triangle, hence triangle therapy. And this is the 3-step process of triangle therapy. Step 1 is to recognize the situation's negative aspects. For example, it's been about 15 years since my mum died, and over that time, I've realized the worst part of not having her around anymore is not necessarily her not being around for the big events like graduations and birthdays. It's missing out on the little things. I don't get to blast the Black Eyed Peas album Monkey Business in the car with her anymore. I don't get to introduce her to my partner. I don't get to tease her for being bad at using technology. This is actual footage 6 months before she died. I was 12 and I was filming her on my yellow Simpsons flip phone.
It's amazing. Mum is actually using a computer. It's one and only. Yeah, it's a one and only event.
Yes, thank you.
It won't happen again in another century.
I don't know how to go down. I have to ask them how to arrow down.
See, so she's using the arrows going down.
Step 2 of TT is to recognize the situation's neutral aspects. So my mum died, but death is a natural part of life. It's a process everyone witnesses and experiences at some point. It's shit that my mum died earlier than most, but it is a potent reminder of the human experience of mortality. We are mere mortals. It's a potent reminder that life is precious. Step 3 of TT is to recognize the situation's positive aspects. Side note, augmented awareness helps you do this. Check out lesson 1 for more information about that. After my mum died in 2009, I managed to pivot my perspective from the negative apex of the triangle to the neutral apex, but I struggled to pivot from neutral to positive. Then I went on an immersion program in the Philippines in 2014. I spent 1 week living with a local family in an impoverished area of a remote Filipino island. After my first night with the family, I remember waking up, walking out of the room, and seeing this family of 8 waiting for me sitting at the dining table. I hadn't seen smiles so warm, genuine, and heartfelt before, and I don't think I've ever seen smiles quite like that ever since. At this moment, everything changed. If this Filipino family can be so genuinely happy, living in a hut the size of my lounge room, drinking Coke and eating rice for every single meal of the day, showering with cold buckets of water, sleeping on a wooden mattress, then I too can be happy. At that moment, I realized I was blessed to have a mother that loved me. I was the luckiest person in the world to be given every single opportunity to succeed. And I can choose to see my mother's life as a beautiful thing, despite how short it was. At this moment, I realized that I was not the victim of the story. I am the author. What happened in the past need not determine what will happen in the future. Those words are still unwritten, and I can pivot my perspective to focus on the positive aspects of every situation as I write them. Simple summary. Grief tunnel vision, or GTV. This is the narrow perspective that views grief exclusively as a negative experience, ignoring its potential for personal growth and healing. Then we spoke about perspective pivoting, or PP. This is the conscious act of adjusting one's perspective to better cope with challenging situations. One main benefit of PP is the guiding star principle. This refers to the idea of using the memory of a lost loved one as a guiding force to help with decision-making and personal growth. Lastly, we discussed triangle therapy. Triangle therapy is a 3-step process that involves recognizing the negative, neutral, and positive aspects of every situation. And here is the lesson. It's the one thing you should take away from everything we've already discussed. You can overcome grief tunnel vision through perspective pivoting and triangle therapy. Here's a mnemonic to remember that lesson. Overcome GTV equals PP plus TT. To close, a quote from the word wizard himself. Give sorrow words. The grief that does not speak strains the heart until it breaks. That's from Shakespeare. The point is that you don't need to suffer in silence. If you'd like to have a chat about grief with me, check out the link in the description. It's an online community that has weekly chats about what we talk about in these lessons. If that's not for you, no worries. Just please speak your grief. That's it for this lesson. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel and keep it simple until the next one.
Community Acknowledgements. Bjorn, Heather, Matt, Aaron, Lewis, Edita, Luckman, Questin, Roya, Han, and Vips. Thanks for your help.